Hi, I'm John with Quilt Easy. We're here to talk to Judy Slinker today with Country Cottage Quilt Shop. I've got Lindsay, who's over sales here at Quilt Easy, and Tiana, who is over social media marketing. We're going to have a good time, we hope. We're going to learn more about Judy and her business, and we'll start now with some questions.
Judy, can you tell us what interested you to become a quilter?
Well, first, I have sewn my entire life since I was a little tiny girl. My mom had a treadle machine, and there was a whole bunch of us kids, but I was the only one that I would go cut stuff up and sew it together, and then and when my kids was little, I sewed all their clothes, and then I had a business where I sewed jackets and dusters, and I got just so I did thousands of them till I was so sick of that. But I'm telling you, sewing to me is like a Calgon. It just takes you away. If you're, if you have issues or something, you can sit and sew and just get happy in a hurry. And so that's why I love to sew. And it has helped me through a lot of things in my life. And then from there, of course, you go to quilting. And when I went to a big show in Salt Lake and seen the long arms, well, I just had to have one of those. And
Of course.
and I have to tell you, I did have a different one before, and it was a nightmare. I had 3 brand new ones from another company, and it was a nightmare. And then when I went over and found the Tin Lizzie with the Quilt Easy on it, I've just been in love with Quilt Easy ever since.
Tell us a little bit about Country Cottage Quilt Shop and how that got started and all of that
Okay.
good stuff.
About 10, 11 years ago, because I had drove truck for a while because my husband and I owned semis, and I've done that off and on my whole life. And, I had to have my neck fused again. And so they said, we really don't want you to drive anymore. So I'm sitting in my basement in my new house outside of town, 8 miles, and the whole basement was just empty. So I started sewing, and I was making, just quilts and buying. And so I started getting a little fabric, and then I would just keep investing the money in fabric. And so today we have a pretty big quilt shop, actually, especially for this, community. And that's how I got started, is just sewing and then buying fabric and just reinvesting all the time.
How long have you been quilting?
Oh, I've been quilting probably 30 years, but seriously in the last 11.
What type and designs of tops or quilts are your favorite?
Personally, I really love what I call the art quilts, the ones that are a lot of applique, or they're paper pieced or things like that. And I have done I do traditional once in a while because we need to hang them in the store to making samples,
Right.
But literally I can whip through a traditional quilt in 4 or 5 days, the whole top. And then it takes me maybe a day to sort. And that's with watching the store too. And that's another reason why I have the store, because I am getting close to 80 years old. But, I look at it like this. I have all the fabric in the world to play with. And I see wonderful women every day come in and visit with you. And you just have a happy life all the time. And where if I was just sitting sewing quilts by myself, we would be buried in quilts. That would not be good. So I make them and sell them. And
So how long have you had a long arm?
I've had my first long arm was probably in '08 maybe. And then that was a disaster. And I think I got my Tin Lizzie like in 11, my first one, 2011. And then, of course, my husband does all the repair work for Colorado and Wyoming and setup and stuff, and for the long arms that we sell. So mine is always the newest version.
Of course.
I'm very lucky that way. And when I do my art quilts, then I buy because I am not a artist with that machine. So I have to use other people's stuff. And of course I have all the programs, that with the patterns, but then I buy the special patterns that go with the quilt that I'm doing.
Uh-huh.
And so you build each little box and then you put it in, stitch it out. But I have to tell you, I use a mouse all the time with mine because I want them to be really perfect in the squares, and you cannot do that with your finger. You cannot.
Very true.
I mean, you've got to use the mouse if you want to really get up there and get things really perfect in there. And so, like some of those quilts that I do will take me 3 weeks, but I don't care because they're beautiful when I'm done, and I take them to the fair and I sell them for good money.
What's your favorite type of fabric?
We have cottons. Personally, I love batiks. I'm like the batik queen. But Leah that works with me, she works a couple days a week, and she likes the traditional. So our store has a really good mix of both. Because I just the batiks, if it was up to me, we would be buried in batiks. So thank goodness Leah picks the others, and we have the Jason Yenter lines, and we have Kay Fosse's Complete Last line. We carry all of Tula Pink's last couple lines and stuff. So we have quite a variety of fabrics.
Where is your store located?
My store is in Riverton, Wyoming, and it's 1 block south of Main Street and a half a block off Federal. So when you come into Riverton, you can see it right there. It's just right next to the main thoroughfare.
Do you have a favorite type of a quilting design when you're quilting for yourself or others?
I love lots of designs. It's like whatever quilt that I'm working on, I want that design to really complement that quilt. But when I quilt, I try to use threads and patterns that are going to complement whatever the lady has done her piecing. Because I'm not a quilter that thinks that my quilting should be what people see on that quilt. It should complement that quilt, not overwhelm that quilt. And so many quilters, they just want their work to show. And I think that's just my personal thing, is that the lady has put in how many hours into making that top. You should make that top shine, not overwhelm it.
I like that. Did you ever use paper pantographs?
I tried that one time. And I'm going to tell you, my machine does not even have a laser light on, because you cannot. I would try, and they're not cool. They're not nice and smooth corners, and I want everything perfect. And so then I would call the company. I can't get this to work. And they said, you know what? There is 2 kinds of quilters. There's the ones that quilt from the back and they're always frustrated. And there's the ones that quilt from the front and they're always happy. And I decided that day that I was going to be happy, and I've never used a pantograph since.
All right.
Perfect.
Yeah.
How about
I like the quilt easy these things.
how about a template and stylus? Have you ever used one of those?
No. If I can't plug it into my my computer, then it's not gonna go on that quilt.
Nice. So with your long arms, have they always been automated with some sort of?
The first couple years I tried to do it by myself, and I'm just not good at it. I mean, there's people that just are an artist with a machine, and I so envy them but I'm not. I graduated from college valedictorian in business and accounting, and my brain is black and white. Does not have any art up there. So I really am thankful for Quilt Easy and the computer.
So how long had you had your long arm before you added automation?
Probably a year.
All right, sweet.
I was frustrated for a year, and I thought this just is not going to work. So when I went over to Salt Lake one day, I went and seen Ernie, and I said, Ernie, this is making me crazy. And he said, well, let's get the computer on there. And I got it on there. And of course, that was the Linux, and it was so simple to learn and run. I mean, I had that thing in my head so good that people could call me from anywhere, and I could just walk them through getting that thing going, because it really was easy. And so then I went to Salt Lake to a conference in October of like 15. And Ernie's like, oh, Jude, we've got a brand new computer. And I'm like, oh, no, I'm too old to learn new stuff. But then, and so I left it set there from October until like January. And Scott had it on my machine, but I was not dealing with it. And then we had a big show because we lived down at Denver at that time, outside of Denver, and had the store. Our whole walkout basement was the store. And we were going to be going to shows in Denver at the Mart. And I had to be able to run this computer to show people how to work so we could sell the long arms. And so I thought, so I called John, and I'm like, I don't have a clue. And he said, go to Quilt Easy, go to the bottom. Just go step by step. There's like 33 of them to go through. And by the time you're done, so I thought, okay, so that's what I did. I went, and it was simple to learn to use it. So even to this day, if people buy the computers and put it on, I'll show them a little bit, but mainly I show them where to find those little lessons and to go and do the lessons. Because when you're done, you know it inside out.
Yeah. What's your favorite part about owning a Butler?
Well, I just love it that I have the choice, I have the choice of I can go block by block and then do sashing all the way across. But when I do that, I take the quilt off the machine after I'm top to bottom and turn it a quarter so that all of my like sashings and things they're no stop start. They're one whole line. And I really love that I have the ability to do an overall, if that's what people want, or do it block by block, or that I can go and do the really intricate ones that I do on my paper piecing.
So what would you say your most used feature is on the Butler?
Most people like overalls. And I just use one color that's going to kind of blend and do the whole thing like that. And it just always comes out so beautiful.
So what would you say your favorite feature is?
I don't know that I have a favorite because I just love all of what it does.
What feature would you say saves you the most time?
The overall. I can do cornered from the lower left up to the top right, and it builds the box, and I put the pattern in. And, I take it across, then I use the smart scaling and stuff, and it just fits it right in there. And from there, you can tell if you need to go back and add one or take one out, because you can see how beautiful it's going to be in there.
If someone came to you that had a long arm machine and was looking into automation, what kind of advice would you give to them?
Well, I would probably show them on mine how absolutely simple it is to run the Butler, and that they can build the boxes, they can do the whole thing. It's just the automation on it is really good.
So we really appreciate your time with us today. We learned more about it. You're there in Rock Springs. You've been involved with us for
Riverton.
In Riverton, I said Rock Springs, sorry. Been involved with us for a long time, and we really appreciate it.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate working with you guys.